The Xbox One X is here, and honestly, it presents a really interesting challenge for PC builders. I feel like the Xbox One X overall is pretty overpriced, especially in comparison to other consoles. It feels like you're paying too much for what you're actually getting, but with that said, it's surprisingly hard to build a PC that matches the Xbox One X in every way, while not spending way more than $500 on it. With that said, in this video, I'm going to be showing you my PC build that I feel like matches the Xbox One pretty well, so with that said, let's go ahead and get started. So really fast, before I get started, I do want to mention that all of my PC components are listed in the description below, along with links as to where you can get them. The total cost for this build right now is about $650, although that price could fluctuate over time. Now when you compare my PC build to the Xbox One X, there are definitely advantages to both platforms. My PC definitely has more flexibility and muscle, but the Xbox One X is cheaper, it's also highly compact, and it's set in stone. For the Xbox One X's CPU, GPU, and memory, Microsoft chose a custom AMD APU that features 8 2.3 GHz custom x86 cores, 40 Radeon compute units running at 1172 MHz, and then also 12 GB of GDDR5 memory. AMD doesn't have an equivalent APU available for PC building purposes, so I chose to include the 8-core 3.3 GHz AMD FX 8300, 8 GB of DDR3 1600 RAM, and then also an 8 GB Radeon RX 580. These specs should definitely provide you with reasonable performance. You're getting a faster 8-core CPU, enough RAM to avoid bottlenecks in system performance, and then also a GPU capable of 4K gaming at a minimum of 30 FPS on medium settings. Some Xbox One X games might still end up running more smoothly though, since Microsoft's developers are able to fine-tune their games for the console through a lower level API. For storage, Microsoft hasn't shared details on drive speed, type, or interface. All we really know so far is what Digital Foundry revealed in its April 2017 preview, which is that the Xbox One X will have a 1TB hard drive with a 50% increase in bandwidth. Now we really have no idea how Microsoft arrived at that figure, but for my build I basically just chose to keep it simple, so I chose a SATA 3 7200 RPM Western Digital hard disk drive. Now the final pieces of my build are pretty straightforward. Pretty much you can use any reputable 500 watt power supply, an ADX case, and then also a Blu-Ray drive. The ones I have listed in the description below were basically just the cheapest ones I could find. Speaking of that Blu-Ray drive though, it's definitely a pretty big step down from the Xbox One X's 4K UHD Blu-ray drive. To stay even remotely close to $500, you have to ditch support for playback of 4K UHD discs, so that means if you can't already play your collection of 4K UHD movies on HDR on a compatible TV, you won't be able to do now either. Now as I already mentioned, this build is trying to replicate both the functionality and the price of the Xbox One X as closely as possible, but it is impossible to do an exact one-to-one duplicate because Microsoft uses custom hardware design and then also a slow release of specs. But with that said, this rig should play games in 4K at a minimum of 30 frames per second as I already said. It also supports HDR and it does play optical discs. At the same time though, my build lacks support for 4K UHD Blu-ray discs. It uses a GPU that's kind of difficult to find, it doesn't have built-in Wi-Fi support, and it's definitely nowhere near as small or as compact as the Xbox One X is. With that said though, you can trade out components as you see fit, so that's definitely an advantage. So with that said, give me your opinions on my Xbox One X PC build in the comment section down below. Let me know if you have any recommendations for swaps I should make. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and with that said, I will see you next time.